warm and sunny welcome here from Copenhagen. Today I'm just out with the MX5 and this is also what the video is about. My experience with the Fujifilm X-M5 after 6 months of use, more or less. So I've been using the camera mainly for like street photography and documenting family life or normal life, and then occasional videos and some portraits. So a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And yeah, in this video I will share my thoughts about the camera after a half a year of use. So just a small disclaimer, I bought this camera for my own money. So this was not given to me by Fujifilm or Fuji, and I have not been told or instructed to say anything about this camera. This is totally my own experience with the camera and yeah, my thoughts about it. So this is not an ad, this is simply my experience using the camera as a photographer and as a YouTuber. Let's get started. So let's start with the build quality. I wouldn't say that the X-M5 feels like a tank, but it feels like a premium quality camera, even though it is made mostly out of plastic and that it is not weather sealed. I have the gray model and I really like the look, and I also think that the black model looks pretty cool as well. Being plastic, of course, it might scratch up eventually. I take pretty good care of my gear, so I haven't really experienced that too much. That being said, metal can also scratch, so this is just how it is when you use camera gear, that you can scratch it up and get marks. It will not affect the camera in a functional way, but of course it will take away some of the aesthetics. But how to avoid this is pretty simple. Yeah, just take good care of your gear and it won't really happen. So the dials feels pretty solid and I like how they work. There's nothing to put on these. And as far as I know, the grip has been improved over the XE4, for instance. So this is also an improvement if you come from an older Fuji camera. That being said, the grip is pretty small. So if you have bigger hands, it might be hard to get a grip of the camera. But overall, nothing feels cheap about the camera, I think. So you get the classic Fuji look. And what's really not to like about this, because I think that this is one of the things that you will probably buy into if you like this camera in the first place. So in terms of ergonomics, the camera is a small camera, so don't expect a beefy grip and a lot of controls, because you won't get this. So it definitely takes some time getting used to, but you will get there eventually, I think. At least that's how I felt. In the start, I had a hard time getting my hands over the camera, controlling it. But over time, I got used to it, and now it feels pretty normal to me as well. And it's not that different from holding one of my Sony cameras. I have added a small grip though. And I do recommend adding this, because you will just get a little bit more handling on the camera than what you do if you don't have a grip on. You can also add a thumb grip. I'm not the biggest fan of the thumb grip, and I might consider taking it off, because I don't think it provides that much extra to the camera. But yeah, you can consider adding this too if you need this for your thumb. So these are the accessories for the cameras, and you can watch the video up on the screen after this one if you would like to see what kind of accessories that I have bought and I recommend for this X-M5. And yeah, I think that the minimal design of the camera and the small size, it's also what makes this camera. It is part of its charm, so you can't really complain about this. If you want a small, easy to carry around camera, then this is the trade-off. That said, there aren't that many customizable buttons on the camera, and that can be a bit annoying if you are used to this, for instance, if you come from a Sony camera. But again, this is what you can expect from a small camera this size. So you just have to get used to it and work around it. Talking about the buttons, there is also an issue, I think, that you cannot separate the video and the photo functions from each other. So the buttons you assign for taking photos will also be assigned for doing video. And it would be nice if you had the choice to separate these as you do on Sony cameras. But again, this is just how it is, and eventually you will learn how to live with it. So now let's talk performance. The camera is pretty fast, I think. It turns on quickly, and overall the buttons and functions, they handle pretty well. There is also a boost mode on the camera. I haven't used this, to be honest, but I guess that this will make the camera handle even faster. My consideration is that it will also use more battery power, so I haven't used it yet, but I might test it out one day. When it comes to autofocus, I think that the autofocus is pretty fast. I haven't used that many Fuji cameras before, so I have really nothing to hold it up against. But when you compare it to Sony cameras, I think it is pretty smooth and fast. Does it work as well as on the Sony cameras? No, it does not. But to be honest, I haven't really felt that it is that bad as the reputation might be. And for the kind of photography that I use the camera for, street photography, documenting everyday life and stuff like this, it holds up perfectly fine. And yeah, there's really nothing to complain about. So let's talk about the image quality, and here again I don't think there are any issues to talk about. You got a 26 million megapixel X-Trans 4 sensor, which they use in many of their more expensive cameras, and it works really well and it delivers some really nice and sharp photos, I think. Is it the best at handling low light situations? Probably not, but again, I don't really shoot that many low light situations, so it's nothing that I can complain about. And yeah, this is the same sensor that is found on the X-T4 and the XS20. So it means great sharpness and beautiful Fuji colors, enough resolution to both personal work and also using it for social media. And yeah, JPEGs straight out of the camera, well, chef kiss. This is why you buy the Fuji camera, I think, and you will get this with all of the different simulations that the Fuji lineup offers. So film simulations like chromatic chrome on nostalgic negative, straight out of the camera, delivers you some really great JPEGs that you can use with the zero or more or less no editing. So you might have guessed it, this is another day and I am back home here in my apartment. So finding time to do these videos here during summer with my family is really hard. So yeah, I didn't finish the video when I was out in the sunny weather, and today it is a bit more rainy. So I'm trying to finish the video here at home with my kids watching some television. So let's see if we can go do that. So one of the things that I was really intrigued about with this camera was also the video features. And it really does shine here because it shoots open gate 6K video footage, it shoots oversample 4K footage, and it has 10-bit internal colors, and it shoots in f-log 2. So some really nice features for a little small camera like this. Would I use this for paid work? Probably not, but as a B-cam or as someone who does YouTube or perhaps vlogging, then this camera is really nice to do video as well. And shooting some video clips on the street as well, this camera works really fine, and this was also why I wanted it over the A6000 that I've been using for some time to do light-handed street photography, because the video performance of this camera is really not that great, to be honest, after considering we are in 2025 and that camera is almost 10 years old and it doesn't shoot in 4K and it has lack of the newer Sony color. So I would just like to take a brief intermezzo talking about Pixpa. If you are a photographer or creative and want to build a professional portfolio website without learning code, Pixpa makes it super easy. I actually built my entire new site on Pixpa and I love how clean and fast it is. You can sell prints, host galleries for clients, and even run a blog, all from one place. Try it out with the link in the description and get a 55% discount if you decide to sign up. So coming from Sony, let's also talk about what I don't like about this camera. And yes, there are a few things on the list as well. So we talked a little about the autofocus, and it's not that I don't like the autofocus on this camera, but coming from Sony, it behaves in a different way. It has some different names. It has some different way on functioning. And this can be a bit confusing. And to be honest, I like the Sony one better. And this could be because I have been using Sony cameras for 10 years. But to be honest, I do think that the Sony features are just a little bit more clever and smart. But it is not to say that the Fuji ones don't work. I just like the Sony better. The camera comes with a newer processor, and which makes it way better at handling some of these AI subject detection features. And I think that the face and eye detection works really, really great on the Fuji camera here. But one thing that really bothers me a lot is that when you set it to do face detection, then it will override the photometrics settings. So it will start to meter for the subject, for the face of the subject. And if you're shooting up against some light, then the face might be in darkness, and then it will try to expose for the face, which means it will blow out the whole picture. And you cannot really override this. This is just how it works. And I really wish there was some sort of function to turn this off. You can use the exposure lock function, but somehow it still seems like it will change the exposure a bit, at least on the monitor. And this just bothers me, to be honest. The thing is that it will only meter when you start to focus. And sometimes this needs to go fast if you are going to take a photo of a subject passing by. So if you are not in your mind to see that, hey, this photo might be overexposed when the camera starts to read the exposure of the face, and you will lose the photo because you needed to lock the exposure in before you started shooting. Yeah, this just really bothers me that it will not just keep using the exposure that it was already metering for. So I really hope they will change this with a firmware update someday. Another thing I wish they would change with a firmware update is the possibility to store recipes in the camera, because you can store up to 4 different recipes or settings on the camera, and that is really not that much, especially if you also like to use it for video. For instance, right now I have set the camera up to have 2 of the custom recipes set for video. I don't really use this for recipes, to be honest. I've just set it up to shoot in 24 frames per second and in 60 frames per second on 2 of the custom dials here. And this leaves me with 2 custom dials left that I can use for recipes, and that is really not a lot. So this really limits the usefulness of the camera. And again, I feel this could be changed with a firmware update. And even though the camera has a film simulation dial, which is a pretty neat feature, then you cannot customize the film simulations on the dial, which to me makes them more or less useless, because I think that the film simulations are pretty nice, but in the end you would like to customize them to make them fit you and just not be the standard film simulation. So you have this dial with 14 different film simulations that you cannot customize, making it useless. And to me, I never used this dial, to be honest, which is pretty sad because it takes out space on the camera. I could have a dial, or I could use the dial for something else, or they could make these customizable so they actually had a function. Then we have IBIS, or the lack of it. I get it. This is a small and affordable camera, and as far as I know, you only get IBIS in cameras with the X-Trans 5 sensor. But this camera has a dedicated vlog function on the camera, and having no IBIS on the camera really takes away the functionality if you want to be vlogging, because you will get micro jitters in the footage. And yeah, it would be nice with IBIS to take this away. Of course, you can get some lenses with optical image stabilization in them, and this will help you, but I don't think that there are that many lenses with optical image stabilization made for Fuji cameras, and those that are made are more or less just upgrades of the kit lenses at least what I have seen. I would have loved if there was a prime with optical image stabilization, but I cannot really find one if I don't want to break the bank at least. And of course, many times you can get the micro jitters out if you stabilize in post. But yeah, I just wish the camera had IBIS. Another thing to be aware of are that the batteries aren't really the best for this Fuji camera, or for Fuji cameras in general, I think. But the camera charges pretty fast via USB, so you could carry along a power bank and charge the camera on the go, and then you might be able to last the whole day. But a spare battery or two is perhaps a better idea, or even if you have a little more money, you could go and buy the Yano battery charging case that works as a battery charger and a power bank as well. Then you pair it with an extra battery or two, and then you should be settled for shooting a whole day of Fuji camera photos and video. And you can actually get a lot out of this camera when it comes to video if you know what you're doing. And I will just link to this guy here on YouTube that have made an incredible video with the X-M5, so you can see what it is capable of if you know what you're doing here. So these were a couple of things that I don't like about the X-M5. Now let's just quickly talk about a new release from Fuji, the X-E5, because this is basically this camera on steroids. It has the newer 40 megapixel X-Trans 5 sensor and IBIS. It lets you customize the film presets that is on the dial, so you get more film recipes and you actually get to use the film dial. It also includes an EVF if you are a person that likes to have an EVF, though honestly I don't mind, but I know a lot of people out there would like an EVF. But of course these things also comes at a higher price. So lastly, let's talk about the fun factor of this camera, because of course this is also something that you need to consider when you're using a camera. And I think that we have a fun factor on a very high scale here, like 9 out of 10, because this is a camera that makes me want to go out and shoot. It is a camera that I would like to bring with me on shoots, on everyday walks with my family and so on. It's light, it's responsive, and it's just easy to carry. The flip out screen is something that I really enjoy using. You can use it for vlogging and you can use it for shooting. And if you pair it with a really small lens, like one of the pancake lens for the Fuji lineup, or perhaps this disposable lens, then you have a really small setup that you can carry with you really easy. So while this is about the X-M5 and not the kit lens, I will just really quickly talk about this because I also got the kit lens with me when I got the camera. And I really think that the kit lens is a really good lens, to be honest. Of course, it is not a 2.8 lens or a f2 lens, and it doesn't have a constant aperture in the whole focal range, which would have been really nice, but it is actually a really sharp and a useful lens to me. It covers a really flexible focal length and it takes some really great photos. And on top of this, it has optical image stabilization and it is not that big, especially when I'm out with my family, doing small videos and also taking some street photos here and there when I get the chance. So who is this camera for? I think it is for street photographers who want a small size camera with a modern sensor. It is for content creators that would like a hybrid camera that might be leaning towards photography a little bit more than video because of the lack of IBIS. But of course, if you use some sort of stabilization, then you have a really beast of a hybrid camera. It is for pros that just want a spare camera that they can use for everyday photography or to carry with them when they're out doing personal life. It is for people who love the Fuji JPEG colors but don't want to have a big camera like the X-T5 or the X-H2 and who doesn't have the money or can get a hand of the X100VI. And lastly, I think that this camera is for people who just want to get better photos than what they get on their smartphone and who would like to get into start using a real camera and perhaps who wants to look cool while doing it, because let's face it, this camera does look really nice. So my final thoughts here, would I recommend this camera? Yes, I would recommend this camera. I think it is a really nice small camera that you can use for a lot of scenarios and that is fun and easy to use. Of course, it has a few caveats, like it is made out of plastic and it is not weather sealed, but to be honest, for the money that you have to pay for this camera, I think you're getting a really nice and capable camera. So if you can live with the trade-offs that I've already mentioned in this video, then you get a really nice camera that you can use for quite a long time, I think. Because the X-M5 is a little powerhouse that punches way over its class, if I have to say so. So that is all for me for now. Let me know what you think about the X-M5 in the comment section. Have you already bought it, or are you considering buying it? If you have any questions, I would love to help you get clearance on whatever that might be. If you found the video helpful, please make sure to give it a thumbs up and also consider subscribing. I make more content around the Fuji lineup, Sony lineup, gear reviews and street photography, and I have actually bought a Ricoh camera as well now, so I might be doing a video or two about this as well for street photography. Anyway guys, this was all for me for now. I will see you around. Take care.
I'm the biggest in the game. I'm the one they talk about. Everybody know my name. My resume is loud.